What's going on, y'all? It's Jeff Lightsy Jr. and I had just finished the Aaron Hernandez documentary on Netflix, the three-part documentary that talked a lot about, inside the mind of the killer, I think is what it's titled. And man, I have a lot to say about this. So, first of all, to me, it was blatantly obvious the agenda that Netflix was trying to push, or the producer, or whoever. I'm going to just say Netflix because that's whose platform it's on. They were pushing the agenda that Aaron Hernandez was this closeted homosexual that acted in rage because he was trying to hide his sexuality. That's what I took from it. Now, tell me if I'm wrong. Now, here's the thing. That was one part. And another part was he was someone who lost control of his life and of his emotions after his father had passed away. There was a lot of stuff that went on, and there's a whole lot of elements that went on in this documentary. But one thing that I did see for sure was that they were pushing a homosexual, a gay man agenda, that he acted in rage that essentially cost four men their lives, Aaron Hernandez ended ultimately committing suicide because of his own inner demons, right? So, and I have a problem with that because Aaron Hernandez, to me, was just someone who was a very talented football player but had a lot of issues. I mean, can it just be that someone is a bad person or commits bad acts or whatever? You know what I mean? Like, does it have to have a deeper meaning as far as like that whole sexuality thing? Now, here's my thing. I once listened to Dr. Boyce Watkins talk about pushing the demasculinity of gay men, in this case, I mean, not gay men, of black men, in this case, a brown man, a Hispanic man, and it looks like that is happening here. And here's what I mean. So in the documentary, Netflix interviews what supposedly Aaron Hernandez's starting quarterback when he was in high school. I can't even remember the man's name, but he talked about all these stories about him and how him and Aaron slept around with each other in high school. And it was like this whole quarterback tight end pairing, and, they didn't want their fathers to find out, and all of this kind of like, this was like really pushed really heavily throughout the entire documentary. They even brought in the man's dad, right, to talk about how he hated gay men and used derogatory words towards them, and how Aaron's dad hated gay men and used derogatory words towards them, and he hated that his own son had to feel that he had to stay in the closet because his dad was so homophobic and all these kind of things. Well, it turns out that man wasn't even the starting quarterback. He wasn't even the starting quarterback at Aaron's high school. So that discredits him a lot, right? Like, I'm not saying that he and Aaron didn't have a sexual relationship, because maybe they did. I don't know. I mean, I don't really care. But you get discredited a whole lot when you come on saying this whole quarterback tight end pairing, and we did all these things together and we didn't see it as gay. We just saw it as having fun. Well, when you're not the starting quarterback and you project yourself as you were the starting quarterback, it sounds like you were the backup, then that, you kind of go by the wayside a little bit to me. Okay, and then here's the second part. Was that really necessary? Like, was his input to the documentary very necessary? Not really. He really played no significant role but to push that agenda that Aaron was hiding these sexual demons, like his own sexuality, fighting his own sexuality. And that's what made him act in rage on very little things. And so secondly, if that wasn't good enough, the Netflix producer said, how can we spice this up some more? So they went in and brought an offensive lineman from the New England Patriots that was a gay man. And he goes on to talk about how, like, there's gay men in the NFL. And they don't even specify if he and Aaron were on the Patriots at the same time. I'm assuming they were, but I didn't really look it up because I thought this was so pointless. But he comes in and talks about how, like, there's gay men, his experience of being a gay man in college and a star football player, and then being in the NFL and being a gay man, and how, like, he never wanted to out himself. And he even gives a little psychoanalysis, right, about, like, once again, he never specifies his relationship with Aaron. All he says was, all it's shown that he and Aaron both played for the Patriots. Once again, we don't know if they played during the same time period or what. We just know they both played for the New England Patriots. And he went on and talked about how, like, beards and non-beards, like, if you wear a beard, you're the woman, and like all this weird stuff that it served no purpose to the documentary but to push this agenda, right? Like, it served no purpose. And so here's the thing about the Aaron Hernandez story. It is so interesting by itself. Like, we're talking about a superstar high school recruit that goes to Florida after his father passes. Everybody in the world thought he was going to UConn because he's from Connecticut. He's from the suburbs of Connecticut, right? Bristol, Connecticut, where ESPN's at, right? The headquarters of ESPN is in Bristol, Connecticut. He's from there. He goes down to Florida, commits, has a little rough edge around him. Is drafted by the most prestige, well-run organization maybe in the history of football, in the New England Patriots. But because the New England Patriots is in New England, and it happens to be very close to Bristol, Connecticut, he's able to go home and mix it up with cats he probably had no business doing it with, right? Like hanging out with. He's so young, right? He was so young. And he kind of lives this fake gangster life that turns him into a real gangster where he's shooting and killing people. And he doesn't have a relationship with his mother. He loves his cousin more than he loves his own mom. And his cousin, who has breast cancer, is on the, when he's being prosecuted for these murders, she's on the witness stand. And she's, going in contempt, going to jail with breast cancer to keep her own cousin, to say she had no part in keeping her cousin out of jail, to keep her cousin out of jail. And it's just like so crazy, all of these elements, right? Like he's an All-American football player, $40 million, New England Patriots, scoring a touchdown in the Super Bowl. And we're focusing on this fact that he might have been, a closeted gay man. And that to me serves no purpose in this whole documentary. The whole CTE thing, I thought was kind of blown out a little bit before. I mean, it might have been a thing. Like, it might have been really big in him. But I think that serves a greater purpose than this whole closeted gay man. And he was battling demons in his own sexuality. And I think Netflix was really trying to push that agenda throughout this whole documentary. And that's the one thing I didn't like. I thought this documentary had so many elements to be very good because Aaron Hernandez as a person was so interesting, between being a high school All-American, a college All-American that had behavioral issues, right? That caused him to slip to the 4th round, but then becoming a Pro Bowl type tight end with the greatest organization in football, getting $40 million to killing potentially his brother-in-law, forever, but also potentially killing 2 men that accidentally spilled a drink on him. You know what I'm saying? And then shooting his friend in Miami. Like all of those, and then ultimately committing suicide on himself when he gets life without parole in jail. And we focus, like, instead of like encapsulating all that and really trying to dive into the mind of, they focused really good. They did a good job on talking about Odin Lloyd and getting his friend to speak powerful messages about how much he misses his buddy and misses Odin and all of these things, and all these different people that had real perspective of Aaron because they were his real friends. But instead we bring in this backup quarterback from his high school who he admitted he hadn't talked to Aaron since they were juniors in high school, right? Like Aaron's played 4 seasons in the NFL, 3 at Florida. And this guy said he and Aaron hadn't even really talked since he was a junior in high school. And we bring in this guy and his dad just to push this whole closeted gay man agenda. And I thought that was really weird. I thought that was weird by Netflix. And then we bring in the lineman from the Patriots to kind of put it over the top. And I that was the one thing I didn't like. Like I said, there were so many other people that we could have heard from, and they did a really good job talking to the people that were really Aaron's friends from his childhood and in college and in the NFL. Really did a good job diving into that. But seeing this guy and this whole narrative that they kind of like seasoned the whole entire documentary with was very weird and very strange. I don't know. Am I bugging out? Like, you guys let me know what your thoughts on the Aaron Hernandez trial and the whole Aaron Hernandez, not trial, but documentary was. Once again, my name is Jeff Lightsy Jr. Thanks for watching. This was a longer video because there's so many questions left on like why would Netflix incorporate this into that documentary. Thanks for watching. We're out.